There is a very disturbing case that's going around cyberspace right now. Um, Disturbing but not unusual. And this is from the Express Tribune, which I think is a Pakistani newspaper. This is the article. It's not very long, so I'm just going to read it out. Student lynched after being accused of blasphemy in Mardan. A journalism student was lynched at Abdul Wali Khan University, Mardan, in broad daylight on Thursday after being accused of blasphemy. The deceased was identified as Mashal Khan, a resident of Swabi and a student at AWKU's Journalism and Mass Communication Department. A friend of the deceased student told the Express Tribune that a mob attacked him before shooting him in the head and chest. He added that the mob then continued to beat his body with sticks. The students then began protesting at the campus and shut it down. A police contingent that arrived at the scene immediately took custody of the body, but students kept demanding it back. Mardan DSP, I assume that's a political term, Sheikh Maltan Mardan Haider Khan, confirmed to the Express Tribune that the victim had been murdered by his fellow students. He added that 5 students were injured in clashes, but police managed to bring the situation under control. Later, KPIG Salahuddin Masood told the Express Tribune that arrests had been made and that an investigation is already underway. He added that further arrests will be made after the police identify other members of the mob. Blasphemy is yet to be confirmed, IG Masood added. A notification issued by the police stated that 59 people were arrested from the university for their suspected involvement in the lynching. The body has been shifted to District Headquarters Hospital for an autopsy. Following the incident, AWKU Assistant Registrar Ashur Khan issued a notification stating the university will be closed until further notice. Blasphemy carries a death penalty in Pakistan. In many cases, an accusation alone is enough to inspire vigilante action against suspects. I've seen some of the footage and it is indeed very disturbing. This mob must be several hundred men surrounding this young guy. I'm assuming he's young, it doesn't say what age he is, but he's stripped naked and even lying there dead, throwing sticks at him. It's clearly they're irate, clearly fanatical, and it's sickening and yet not unusual. This is hardly an isolated case. It's a particularly bad case. The fact that it's happening on a university campus, but it's I can't get my head around that a place that is supposed to be an institution for learning, for knowledge, can inspire such medieval savagery. Or can, that's the wrong, obviously it didn't inspire it, but could be the location of such medieval savagery. I just can't. Anyway, a Pakistani contact of mine replied to the link I'd made, and he said that he also felt disgusted by it, and that every single one of them should be arrested and executed. So clearly, there's a recognition that this sort of thing is barbaric. He also said that the blasphemy cases should be dealt with in a court of law. I happen to believe that blasphemy itself has no place in the 21st century, but the situation in Pakistan is such that, not content with having this rigid law in place to persecute people for having an opinion on Islam, Pakistan's a totalitarian theocracy, so there can be no dissent, basically. Um, but as if that isn't enough, it's this bloodlust fanaticism. Now, I'm pleased that the authorities are seemingly taking a hard line on this and rounding up the perpetrators. I hope they're really, really given very harsh punishments. The problem is that conservative base in Pakistan is so strong that they'll probably be treated like heroes. That's the disgusting thing about this. The moderate voices in Pakistan sometimes appear to be the minority. I mean, the nature of this, the savagery, I can't imagine the fear that young man must have went through having these savages do that to him. I just can't get my head around it. I just can't. I can't understand the process that goes through someone's mind to make them so regressively savage in that way that they would feel the need to beat a fellow human being to death for an alleged blasphemy. That's the thing, it isn't even proven that he had said anything. And that's a very, very dangerous environment. And the thing is, the Pakistani government, as an outsider, of course, I think that this law needs to be abolished. Of course, I believe it has no place in the modern world. But I'm also understanding of the fact that the Pakistani government is in a difficult position. Pakistan's a huge country in terms of population. It's it's a very difficult country to run. So I appreciate that it's not necessarily easy for the Pakistani government to just say, "Oh, we're going to abolish blasphemy laws," because the religious scumbags, these hardcore fanatics, will then, of course, go up in arms, and it would lead to bloody armed conflict, as has been the case in the past. In other words, the government has to pander to them to some extent, but there has to be rule of law at the very least. It's bad enough that there is blasphemy laws in place, but there has to be rule of law. And to get this sort of mob-like mentality, it's disgusting. And no civilized human being, whatever part of the world you're from, could condone something like this. So I'll round this up, but I'm not even going to wish that Pakistan overturns its blasphemy laws. I know that's not going to happen anytime soon. But at least there should be an insistence on the rule of law, and I do hope the culprits are given very harsh penalties. Yes, there will be a backlash. Yes, their supporters will treat them like heroes, but there cannot be this situation where people can openly lynch a fellow citizen and there's no consequences. That happened in America well into the 20th century when you had black people lynched in the Deep South and there was widespread condoning of it. That's a dark chapter in American history. They look back on that rightfully and feel it was a dark chapter in their history, a shameful and barbaric chapter in their history. I hope 100 years from now, Pakistan will look back on this and think, how did we ever allow this to happen? But when you have a society of 180 million people and a sizable proportion are hardline religious conservatives, it's scary. It's scary that that mindset is so widespread because the thing is that the thing about fanaticism, it's not always so obvious. In this case, it's obvious because you can see it. But I've no doubt if you were talking to one of these people, they would sound completely normal until you ask them about that. And then it's this almost sinister mindset that takes over their thinking that it's absolutely barbaric. But this man's family needs justice. The scumbags responsible for this, these animals, these cards, these savages, need to be rounded up and incarcerated. Um, in terms of my associates' advocacy of the death penalty, I think these people deserve it. Though the problem is, if you oppose the death penalty, you have to be consistent. So, I wouldn't grieve for them, but the other problem with the death penalty is it martyrizes people in these sort of situations. So if you put these scumbags to death, they'll just become martyrs. So it's a double-edged sword. I would favor lifetime prison sentences. Throw them behind bars, never release them, with solid evidence, i.e., it's definitely them. But the video footage is there. There's abundant evidence. Round them up, arrest them, punish them. I just hope Pakistan realizes how important that is because this matters. Because my country in particular has very strong connections with Pakistan. There's a lot of Pakistanis in Britain, um, and we can't afford to be silent. So I hope when we come to doing trade with this, we voice our discomfort that, I mean, at the very least, the government needs to be saying this sort of lynch mob behavior is unacceptable. If this law has to be in place, let it go through the courts, at the very least. I feel sickened.